In June of 2021, a team of UN special rapporteurs for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights criticized the Vatican, pointing to persistent allegations that the Catholic Church had obstructed and failed to cooperate with domestic judicial proceedings in order to prevent accountability for abusers and compensation for victims. The UN gets involved. The UN will get involved in war crimes. It doesn't do the war crimes, but it'll investigate and report on war crimes. And I find it interesting that the UN has investigated the giant cover-up conspiracy done by the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the UN coming out and saying, this country has committed war crimes. But in this case, it's not a commonly talked about, well, it is commonly talked about. It's not a country that we would associate with war crimes. It's the Vatican State, which is a country. Technically, Vatican City is a country. And the UN is criticizing this country for covering up for crimes, major crimes. So the Vatican at this point has become Turkey. Turkey committed horrendous crimes during World War I. Turkey today still denies it. And the Vatican did horrendous crimes and still does crimes like this and tries to cover up for it. The Vatican is a little bit more conniving than Turkey, because the Vatican will say, oh, it's terrible, it's awful. And then Francis comes along and says, I don't see nobody coming forward. It's slander. It's a fake. So I would say the Vatican is more like Japan, because Japan, why is the music stopping? Japan committed horrendous crimes during World War II, and Japan has somewhat acknowledged it, but at the same time, you find plenty of Japanese politicians who say there was no Nanking massacre. None of that ever happened. Many Orthodox churches have also condemned that form of the even before the Catholic Church did its problem with the hierarchy among apostolic Christianity. Why is it a problem? That's the question. And yes, I understand that sex abuse. I hate using the words. I hate putting the word sex in the sentence because it's not sex. This is not sex. Sex is like man and woman. Okay, this is not sex. This is. Sex is an act of it's human procreation, right? Sex is the act of procreation. I don't like using the word sex. This is abuse. This is depraved, homosexual, sodomitical abuse. This is not sex. But I've looked into abuse in the Orthodox world, and yes, I have found it's violence. Absolutely, I have found, of course, cases of abuse in Orthodox churches. I heard about a story that took place in Serbia. Heard about, a number of cases that took place in Serbia. I heard about a priest who raped a woman in Serbia. I heard about a priest who molested a boy. I'm not sure if there was more than one victim, but I know that this priest molested at least one boy. Heard a case in Russia of a Russian priest who molested several of his daughters and even raped at least one of them. That priest was actually sentenced to prison a number of years ago. He was investigated for 2 years, and he was tried. He was found guilty, and he was sentenced to prison. So there was justice in that story. But even in my inquiry into abuse in the Orthodox world, as opposed to the Roman Catholic world, I'm going to say that it doesn't even compare. Yes, you have stories of abuse in the Orthodox world, etc. You can't doubt it, right? You can't deny it. I mean, even Orthodox people talk about this stuff. The point is that it's much worse in the Roman Catholic world. It's much worse. I mean, the Roman Catholic world, you can fill libraries with books on this topic. It's that bad. It's that bad. And yeah, it's sickening. It's degenerate. And so it's a crime. The Vatican has committed crimes. People in the Vatican have committed crimes. Leaders of the Vatican, leaders of the Catholic Church have committed crimes. Leaders of the Catholic world have committed crimes. Literally, okay, Nazi Germany massacred people, the Japanese massacred people, the Turks massacred people, ISIS massacred people. The Catholic Church did not, Vatican City did not massacre people. But it sure as hell raped a lot of people and molested a lot of people. So the Japanese military raped hundreds of thousands of women. The Vatican has raped and molested hundreds of thousands of young people, mainly young boys and young men, because male teenagers have been preyed upon. So just as there was a trial for Japanese war criminals, German war criminals, I think there needed to be a trial a long time ago, like a Nuremberg trial. They should have called it the Vatican trials. That is what was needed. The Vatican trials is what was needed.
Targeting Ukraine's power grid have plunged countless people into.
There needs to be a tribunal. The Pope needs to be up on there. John Paul II is dead, but when he was alive, he should have been put into a tribunal as well. Benedict, all these cardinals, they should have all been put through a tribunal.